out in Las Vegas against the Indiana Hoosiers, how it happened, what it means going forward, all kinds of good stuff. Let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, we got a lot to get to this show, but first and foremost, we are going to talk about the butt whooping that the Arizona Wildcats dispensed on ASU. Arizona wins 89-75. And what was amazing about this game there is that this game wasn't really even that close. I mean, well, it was that close. I'm not going to say that it wasn't, but it was this was a game where Arizona was pretty much able to hold Indiana at arm's length. And you might say, well, how did Arizona go about doing it? And let's talk about it. First, a big reason for this victory was the two big men up front. Oumar, Ballo, and Azuolas Tubelis have become next level type big men in the vein where you watch them and you think to yourself that is this maybe the best big man duo in school history? And there's been some really good ones. Think Lauren Woods, Michael Wright, Tom Tolbert, AC, Sean Rooks, Brian Williams. There's been some really good ones. But this one right here, I mean, these guys are putting up 20 and 10 pretty much every single night, both of them. And that is a big testament to what Tommy Lloyd and his coaching staff have been able to do. One thing that I do find very intriguing about this team is that I think at this point, it's fair to say that Arizona has the best front court in college basketball. I don't even think it's close, to be honest with you. I think this is a team that right now, they go into every single game knowing that they can beat any team basically just up front with the big men that they have and what they've been able to do. It's truly unique. You don't see this a lot in college basketball, especially with the way that everybody is, the way that everybody is constructed. You generally don't see that. So, again, big kudos to both of them and to Oumar Ballo especially. Big Oumar has been absolutely amazing. He has been the player that I think a lot of people had no clue what to really expect, but he has been a next level player for Arizona, and I'm thinking that's going to continue for him. I think this is going to be a guy that's going to be in the discussion for all conference, for All-American, just a lot of different things to really like about him. And he's shown time in and time again that he is what you're seeing right now is a guy who is really shown that he's ready to make that All-American leap. And a lot of times that just doesn't happen. It has happened in a big way with Oumar Ballo. So, again, big props to him. Azuolas Tubelis, we know the whole story with the NCAA tournament last year. He didn't really he didn't play well. There's no doubt about it. And quite frankly, he shrunk in the moment. But right now, there's also I think it's pretty easy to see that he's over that. Now, again, you won't be able to fully exercise all of these demons until the NCAA tournament, but so far so good. He is really he's shown that he's a guy who is going to be a player that will, I think at this stage, you got to like him, and you got to say that he's done everything that he can. So again, we'll find out about that one. All right, now on the perimeter, then Azuolas Tubelis. Let's talk a little bit about. Pelle Larsson. Let's talk a little bit of Pelle Larsson, because Pelle Larsson, my bad, Pelle. You all know the drill on this one. My bad, Pelle is this was the first game where you watched him and you said to yourself, yeah, he's not trying too hard. He's not trying to do things that he can't do. He's just playing Pelle Larsson basketball. And if he's just playing Pelle Larsson basketball, that means that he's going to be playing good defense. He's going to be getting to the hoop off 1 or 2 dribbles max. And he's going to be finishing, and he's going to be playing his trademark good defense. And when he does that, everything is good for him. And you saw that 16 points off 5 and 9 shooting, really good defense, as we all know. And he didn't do things that were outside of his range. He didn't do things that were outside of his lane. And I think that's something that if you're Arizona, you've got to be ecstatic about, because again, he's a good player. We know this. He's shown it. If he can play like he did against Indiana, Arizona is going to be a massive problem for essentially anyone. Not that they already aren't, but it's going to be a real problem for him. Now, when it comes to the rest of this squad, Kerry Kriisa, there were a lot of questions about Kerry Kriisa going into the season. What would he ever be able to really push that shooting percentage up? Would he ever really be able to get where he's shooting 40% from the field, something like that? And he's been able to do that. He's not only has he been able to do that, he's been able to lead the show. Now, again, he's never going to be a guy that's really going to be finishing around the hoop. That's not really his thing. But, it's okay. He doesn't need to always be that guy. He needs to continue to do what he's doing. And he's getting 7 to 8 to 9 assists per game. 7.7 assists is some really, really impressive stuff, and something that you generally don't see. Even at Arizona, that would be an all-time record. So he just needs to continue to do what he's doing out there and being that little irritant that, I think drives a lot of people crazy. But he is he's really stepped his game up in a big way. And Courtney Ramey, big fan of Courtney Ramey. Love what he's been able to do. The thing that's great about Courtney Ramey is he's just kind of there for what you need. You don't necessarily need him to be, if you need him to get 20 points per game, he can get you 20 points. But if you need him to play a little bit of defense, he can play a little bit of defense as well. If you need him to be kind of that jack of all trades, he can be that jack of all trades as well. So he didn't have a huge game against Indiana, but they didn't need him to have a huge game. And I think that's what some people need to remember here, is that he just needs to continue to do what he is doing out there. And if he does that, Arizona is going to be in really, really good shape. The starting five, I don't think that you can really, emphasize enough just how good they were. Now, we're going to get to the bench here in a second, because the bench had some really, really good performances as well. But this starting five is one of the best starting fives in all of college basketball, and that is a big, big tip of the cap to Tommy Lloyd, affectionately called the Tommy gun on this show. But he said before the year that he expected this to be a good team. Now, let's talk a little bit on the perimeter. Let's talk a little bit as far as bench goes. Adama Ball, the Adama Ball sighting. I am a huge Adama Ball fan. Listen, there's certain things that he's not great at right now. You can watch Adama and you can see pretty quickly that the handle is a little bit too loose. I'm not really breaking any news there. Needs to get a little tighter with the handle. But, he can shoot the ball. You look at it, 3 for 4 from 3-point range. Just able to do a little bit of everything out there. And he's so long that he's got the ability to become a defensive stopper, I believe, at some point in his career. And that point might be sooner than later, honestly, because you watch how long he is. He's wiry strong as well, which is a very nice quality that he brings to the table. And just an impressive performance for him. I think people also need to remember, and we've talked about this a great deal, but you got to remember, he's also a young dude. He's also at 80%, he's should be a freshman academically right now. I mean, that's something that you got to remember. He should be a freshman right now. And that's going to be that will always be something that will it's just going to be kind of the way that it is. But if he were to take a redshirt year this year, and again, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but you know what? I'm excited. I am going to get a little bit ahead of myself right here. If he's able to take a little bit of just kind of a step back freshman year, or excuse me, he could come back as a 21-year-old in the best shape that he's been in, and a guy who will just be strong, who will be ready to rock and roll. I'm a huge fan of where everybody is. And I think right now you've got to say to yourself that, Arizona's in really, really good shape. Now you look at the sixth, you look at the sixth man, Cedric Henderson. He has been fantastic pretty much he's been fantastic all the way around. The thing that's great about Ced is that he just kind of knows what he needs to do. And when he plays the way that he can do what he needs to do. Again, he's a good defensive player. He is a good defensive player. He is a guy who, can make the three. He's shown that he can make the three. And not only has he shown that he can make the three, he's made it consistently time and time again. And right now, I think that you got to be pretty ecstatic with where he is and that 7-man rotation. Now, when it comes to the rest, you watch and you see to yourself, I think we're at a point now where Henry Vasar, that he's going to be he's going to take a little bit of time. That's just kind of the way it is. But defensively, he is super, super active. You love that out there. And I think at this point, you're also like, all right, well, he's definitely a benefit out there. Now, we're going to talk a little bit of recruiting right here in the LinkedIn segment. All right, LinkedIn. This is the place that you go. You can get all of your jobs. From get your applicants you need for free, post your job for free, linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. It works. Again, I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know, but everybody's gotten jobs through LinkedIn. You probably know people that have gotten jobs through LinkedIn. Check it out. Again, the reason that people use LinkedIn is because it works. All right. Now, recruiting wise, we're going to talk a little bit of Arizona football here, and then we're going to get back to Arizona basketball. There is some news right here. Trey Spivey, 6'3" big man. Trey Spivey, 6'3" big man. 6'3" wide receiver. Arizona's been on for a long time. Looks like he might be trending in the Kansas State direction, but don't worry, because then you've got a guy in Malachi Nelson who is going to be who Arizona really likes. They're having an in-home, hoping that they can get him. And if they could get him, that would be a big, big get, because, again, he's a pretty highly rated guy. And not only is a pretty highly rated guy, he fits right in. Jed Fish likes getting bigger players and their bigger wide receivers. He fits right in with what they want to do. We will certainly keep you in the loop on everything that happens there. All right. Now, we are going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with you, and we're going to talk a little bit more of Arizona basketball and what it means going forward and getting you ready for tomorrow. Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk about what this. One more guy too that we got to talk a little bit about? Well, I think we're kind of at the point with Kylan Boswell and Dylan Anderson where you know that both of these guys are they're going to get there. They're going to be good. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And you know what? That's okay. It's going to take a little bit of time, and that is, quite frankly, that is okay. I'm at the point now, though, where, you look at these guys and you're thinking big picture for them. And when you're thinking big picture for them, when you're thinking big picture, you're saying, you're thinking that, all right, it's just going to, these guys are going to be in it for the long haul. And that is more than okay. That is more than okay that they are in it for the long haul. And again, these are guys that I think next year they should be both really, really good. It's just, again, it's going to take them a little bit of time. But there's nobody on this roster that I look at and I say, oh, those are guys that can't play. They're not good enough. Those guys don't exist on that roster, and that is a good thing. Now, what this means for Arizona going forward, there's all kinds of different things that it means for Arizona going forward. First and foremost, Arizona should be high. This moves them up one spot in the rankings. It made me chuckle a little bit when I saw that it moved them up in the rankings one spot, because they probably should be a little bit higher than that. Now, when I watch this team, they look to me like a top 10 team. There's not only do they look like a top 10 team, they look maybe closer to top 5 at times. And again, they're less than ideal in certain avenues. It's not a great athletic team, but again, I'm not really breaking any news right there. But every team out there has some question marks, some qualms, and Arizona's one of those teams. But Arizona's now got 3 good wins. I know San Diego State and Creighton have not looked good. That's just kind of the way it is. I get all of that, but you're also watching a team too that's going to be able to, beat some teams along the way. Now, the rest of what we're looking at right now is where Arizona going forward. You got a Tennessee game coming up. That in Tennessee is going to be a big time matchup for Arizona for a variety of reasons. First, it's going to be a top five type team coming in here into McHale. Arizona's going to have a little bit of, I think, revenge on their mind is probably a fair way to put it. And that's more than okay. You're going to have a little bit of revenge. And I think that at this stage, that's okay. Now, Tennessee is more of a physical, team that got in there, and Arizona had some real problems with them last year as far as turning the ball over, getting physical and whatnot. This will be a good way to be able to see where they're at right now. Okay. Now, let me tell you about SimpliSafe. Ever worried about, if you're ever worried about your house, where everything needs, or, your house, where your safety, check out SimpliSafe. I use it. I know a lot of people that use it. And what's great about it too is it gives you that reassurance. It gives you that frame of mind that, yes, I am going to be protected. I am in a good spot right now. And SimpliSafe does that. Check it out. Again, SimpliSafe, they will get you totally covered on everything. And not only will they get you totally covered on everything, it's going to be a spot where they can help you out and keep you safe. Again, peace of mind. Check it out. SimpliSafe /LockedOnCollege. Let's take a quick break. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we're going to talk tomorrow about Arizona, what this win means, and what this means for NCAA tournament ramifications and all of that stuff. But again, have a happy Monday. Really appreciate all of you. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke,